Thanks, Lucia, for the reading today. The Father who listens and responds. As Phil mentioned, we're starting book of Exodus today, and this book continues from the story from Genesis where it leaves off. And Jacob, also called Israel, Jacob had brought his family to Egypt, this new land. And over the time, this small family grew into a great community. But the blessing of this growth soon, that turned into a burden. The rulers of Egypt, they felt threatened, so they enslaved all the people of Israel and treated them harshly. By the Exodus 2:23, situation is desperate. We read, the Israelites groaned in their slavery and they cried out. Their cry for help rose up to God. And here is the good news. God hears, God listens. In verse 24 says, God heard their groaning and remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And verse 25 adds, God looked upon the Israelites and took notice of them. And that is who God is. God is not distant. He is not deaf to our cries. God is the Father who hears his children when they groan. He remembers. He notices. He takes our pain into his own heart. And that really matters on Father's Day. That really matters this morning. Because for some of us, this day is full of gratitude. We give thanks for the fathers who listened, for grandfathers who cared, for the mentors and friends who stepped in when we needed them. And as Phil prayed, but for other people, this day carries pain because maybe your dad, he wasn't there. Maybe he didn't listen. And that's why Exodus 2, first chapter of this morning, Exodus 2 is such a good news. Whatever our earthly father, our earthly experience has been, we all have a Father who hears, who remembers, who notices. God listens. Now notice what happens next. God hears cries of his people, but there is no instant rescue, no snap of the fingers. Instead, chapter 3 begins with Moses in the wilderness, standing before a burning bush, and there's a long conversation unfold. And what is striking is this. God chooses not to act alone. He doesn't do it by himself. He says in verse 8, I have come down to deliver them. Then verse 10 says, so now go, I am sending you the Pharaoh to bring my people out. So which is it? Is it just one side? No, they are both. God is the one who saves, and he also chooses to use Moses. God delivers, but he does so through human partnership, human relationship. And that is how God still works today. He does not bypass people. He calls them. He calls us. And then usually they are the people who are called, like just us ordinary people. People like Moses, hesitant, reluctant, unsure. And here's a story that feels very human. Moses says, he does not say, yes, Lord, here I am, use me. He doesn't do that. He hesitates, he protests, he objects. His first objection saying, who am I that I should go? God replies, I will be with you. I will be with you. Then Moses asks, if they ask your name, what should I say? God answers, I am who I am. I am who I am. I am has sent me to you. And what's amazing is not only what God says, but how God handles this situation. How God handles Moses. God doesn't silence him. He doesn't say, stop arguing. He listens to every objection. He responds to every concern. Sometimes God reassures. Sometimes He gives a sign. And finally, Moses begs not to go alone, and then God sends Aaron, his brother, with him. And I think that's what good fathering looks like, particularly for this Father's Day morning. We know that children, they do not always listen and obey. They question, they resist, they make excuses. But the good fathers, good mentors, we don't just brush them off. They listen, they reassure, they stay present. And I love that first response God is giving here. First response was, I will be with you. I will be with you. That is the heart of it. It is not about Moses' ability. It is about God's presence. And that is what fathering is all about, I think. Presence matters more than perfection. You don't have to be flawless. You don't have to have every answer. You don't always have to know the way forward. What matters most is being simply there, showing up, listening, walking alongside. While Moses felt unqualified, he had speech problem. He didn't feel competent. God doesn't deny any of that. God knows that. But still, God simply says, I will use you anyway. I need you, Moses. I will use you anyway. And that is hope for every parent, every grandfather, mentor, guide this morning. God doesn't wait for us to be perfect. He asks us to be present. And He promises His own presence with us. When Moses asked for God's name, it is not just curiosity. In that culture, Moses' culture, a name carried identity, name carried character. Our own name all has identity and character in their culture. So Moses is really asking, not just his name. He's saying, can you be trusted? Are you dependable? That is his question. And God answers, I am who I am. I am who I am. Or it is like, I will be who I will be. In other words, I will be faithful to my character. I will show up. I will make things happen. I will not abandon my people. And that is still promised to us this morning. Whatever we face, we can trust God to be who God says He is. Present, faithful, dependable. Father's Day, so what does this story teach us for us? Well, God listens. He hears the cries of His people, those who lead our call to listen to. And God responds with presence, not promising a smooth road, but saying, I will be with you always. And God welcomes questions. Moses argued, and God allowed it. And He is faithful. His very name is a promise. He is a God who was, who is, and who will be. And that is the faithfulness we are invited to reflect on this morning. Well, story of Exodus chapter 2 and 3, it doesn't just begin with a perfect hero. It begins with suffering people who cry out and a God who listens. It continues with hesitant, reluctant men and a God who patiently responds, I will be with you. So on this Father's Day, let's give thanks to those who have listened to us, who walked alongside us, fathers, grandfathers, uncles, mentors, and friends. And let's give thanks to those who have showed up, those who stayed present, who reflected something of God's faithfulness. And let's be honest. None of us are perfect at this. We get it wrong. We miss the cries sometimes. But hope is this. Hope is this: God is the Father who never misses a cry. He is who never forgets a promise, who never leaves us alone. So today, as we give thanks for those who played fathering roles in our lives, let us also remember to place our trust in the Father who always listens, always responds, and always says, I will be with you. And we say, thanks be to God. Amen.